Hey, welcome everybody. Steve coming back with you, Tam Books, with another author series edition with Deacon Albert Graham of the book Compendium for the Miraculous. You see it on the screen already, but here's the book. It's nice hardcover. It's a pretty good looking book. I know you didn't put the hardcover together, which you can take credit if you want, but the inside's what's important. Deacon, first, welcome. Tell us a little bit about yourself and why you came up with this book.
Well, I am a deacon in the Catholic Church, presently at Sacred Heart in La Playa. Spent a lot of time in the military doing searches for POW/MIAs in Russia. I'm married, I have 5 children, 11 grandchildren, and I spent 10 to 12 years researching this book. I just say that, it took a long time. I looked through thousands of saints and, read books, sections of books about them, and also a lot of books on mystical phenomena.
What were your favorite research topics? I mean, you got in there you have everything in here, basically. It's an encyclopedia, right? And it's
right.
What everything across the board you could find. So you explain private and public revelation, and then all kinds of different stigmata, Marian apparitions, etc. What was your favorite section to work on?
Well, the favorite section was the Marian apparitions section.
Okay.
And apparitions in general. So, but if I can expound a little bit on how the book is organized. Mm-hmm. So I open with a section showing how God has been speaking to mankind throughout the history of salvation. In the Old Testament, he communicated with the prophets by word, dreams and visions. The New Testament through his Son. And today he still continues to make himself known through his creatures. So God still intervenes in human affairs through locutions, visions, apparitions, miracles. So, and then there is the section on divine revelation, God's plan of salvation through his prophets, his Son, public revelation, secret scriptures, sacred scriptures, and magisterium, and then private revelation. I then discuss the types of private revelation as credible, authentic, questionable, erroneous, false, and fraudulent. Mm-hmm. And they have the rules for discernment and revelations made by Christ and the saints concerning heaven, hell, and purgatory. The main section of the book, which is my pride, I think, concerns the identification and explanation of some 43 mystical phenomena, such as visions, locutions, agility, bilocations, invisibility, a whole series of them. And in any case, what I would say is that the part also that is good that I like is the images that have been. I have images of saints in ecstasy, images of saints that have apparitions, and so the compendium is complete with images of these saints undergoing mystical phenomena, such as the 43 that I mentioned. Mm-hmm. Yes, and these images come from very famous artists like Rubens, de Moya, Van Eyck, some of the most familiar artists of the 16th, 17th century. Mm-hmm. So those images, this is unprecedented because there's no comparable work that exists that show this type of images that show various mystical phenomena painted by the masters. Mm-hmm. And so in any case, that's sort of an overview of the book.
That's one of my favorite parts about what you did is you put the good art, the beautiful art, because the true, the good, the beautiful. You're drawn to the true, the good, the beautiful, and artists these days aren't like those. And those guys had a gift
Yes.
And I try to do that. And I do these videos. I don't know if you heard about this channel called Sense of Fidelity. That's what I do. I try to put those exact photos that you used into the video so that people see beauty coming out their eyes.
Right, right. Tan did an incredible job of putting this together with everything. I mean, it is a beautiful book. And so, in any case, I just hope that my next book, which is forthcoming on the stigmata. I gathered a lot of information. I hope good Lord lets me live long enough to complete
it. Will it be as big?
I don't think so. It'll probably be about half the size.
So again, what would have been your, I don't know, what was some of the stories that just reached out to you that were like, wow, I did not know this? Or
well, I think that, some of the stories like the Dark Night of the Soul, some of the saints like Mother Teresa, she had Dark Night of the Soul for some 50 years.
Yeah.
And then of course, the Miracle of the Sun. And one of my favorite saints who really, as a matter of fact, I urge the Tan people to get it in, with St. Anthony Marie Claret, who was actually a living tabernacle of Jesus Christ. And so, and then, I've come to see that, like Pope Francis became, he had to make a choice between the priesthood over marriage. And it was a mystical phenomena that basically made him choose the priesthood. I don't know which exactly one it was, but there are some stories out there when you go through all this information, and it just blows your mind as to some of the things you uncover.
Oh, I imagine. I especially like the end part, the index you have, where you, like you have said a minute ago, you have the approved, not approved, bishop approved, local approved, pope approved, not approved, and there's quite a few pages of that not approved one. But that helps out a lot, so people can see that and see if they can actually follow something or not. Do you get into that, the warnings of following not bad apparitions?
Oh yeah, I get into a section on credible, questionable, erroneous, false, and fraudulent, revelations and apparitions too. So I touch upon that.
Yeah, and he gets into if you guys heard about the flying saint, the flying monk, Saint Joseph Cupertino.
Oh yeah.
You ever seen that movie?
I haven't. No, I haven't. No.
I think it's still on not Amazon, YouTube. It is a is made in the 40s or 50s, black and white, hilariously written, well done all over. It was. I remember sitting there with my mom, so we got to watch this. I just read about him, and that movie did not disappoint. And you write about you have a couple pages on him. Quite a few.
That's the height of levitation.
The ones that did fly. There's quite a few that did that.
Yeah, that's the height of levitation. I think he flew the highest.
Yes.
He levitated the highest, so to speak.
Yeah, that was the thing when at the end of that movie, you see the monks holding his legs, walking around like he's a balloon.
Yeah.
I did see in the index you even brought up a favorite of mine, the one in Trefontaine with Our Lady of Revelation in Rome. I got the soil from there that the nuns sent me. What was a section that you're doing stigmata, you did Marian, you did fly-ins, the resurrection of deads. How many did you find from that, and what was one that stood out in that section? Because a lot of people talk about talking in tongues, but that's the number one thing, and St. Paul talks about raising dead. You got all these people saying they make noises, but none of these people today has raised anybody from the dead.
Well, actually, a lot of it might have been resuscitation, in the sense that whether these people were dead or just resuscitated. But, I do have quite a lot of saints in that section. Don't recall them all now, but, I do know that there were quite a few that did do that.
It was I know St. Vincent Ferrara, for example, there was a guy falling off a kind of like if you were a scaffold type deal, and he was under obedience told not to heal anybody. So this guy's falling down, and he tells him, "Oh, wait right there. I'll be right back." So the guy's hanging there in midair, so he gets permission to come over and fix him up.
Yeah.
Besides, say, I think you brought up Fatima, Miracle of the Sun. Do you have any big devotions to any of the saints that you wrote about? And if so, who and why?
Definitely Mary. She's my favorite character after Christ. That she is one of my also favorite areas, which I'm going to be really dwelling on in the next book, is stigmatas. Mm-hmm. I made a section, not in this book, but I have researched stigmatas from the from St. Paul up to from the 13th century stigmatas right up to today, and there are actually 24 stigmatas alive today that bear the wounds of Christ. So I have stigmatas, from every century. A good many of them are saints, beati, or venerables. Mm-hmm. But I'm really dwelling on. I find that fascinating because basically, when you look at this stigma, I got them broken down by various religious denominations, by Augustinian, Benedictine, mm-hmm. and I have them also broken down as to where they had the stigma in their forehead, or one of the crown, one hand, both hands, or the full stigmata, which Pio Stila had, Padre Pio, mm-hmm. had the full stigmata. He was the only priest that really mm-hmm. had, except today there are some that there is a priest or two that does have full stigmata. One, a Croatian priest, and one in the United States.
Yeah, I did not know. What do you want readers to come out after they look through the book? Or is it a reading book, or more like a sit down and read through it, or is it more of a sit down and just read a section or study used for apologetics type deal? What kind of fruit you want people to get out of this?
Well, it's both. It's reading. I have, some of the people who purchased the book have told me they sat down and read it, in 2 days, read everything from cover to cover. I want to, have people. I want the book to sort of strengthen the spirituality and faithful, knowing God and His mother are alive and still active in our life, that He intervenes directly in human affairs, through these mystical phenomena, and also it's great value as a reference work. I have also been told by people who've read it that they also have had one of those 43 mystical phenomena and didn't understand, what it was. And they said, in reading through the book, they now have a clearer idea, whether it was a locution or whether it was a vision or a dream or whatever. They had a better idea as to how to explain it in their life. And I've had several people tell me that they've had one of these mystical phenomena and just couldn't comprehend it. And they said this book really helped them comprehend it.
What inspired you to come up with this?
Well, when I was about 12 years old, I had an out-of-body experience. Didn't understand it. Mm-hmm. Never told anybody about it. Strangest thing. And you kept it quiet because it's like seeing a UFO. Mm-hmm. You don't want to tell anybody, about it. They think you're nutsy. So, anyway, I experienced at least 2 of the 43 mystical phenomena myself. And, so that one when I was about a teenager and another one later on in life, as maybe within the last decade. So yeah, these are the things that spurred me on and to find out, what's this all about. So looking at the saints and seeing that I could identify 43 mystical phenomena. There might be more, but the thing of it is that may be for a further edition. But the idea is these phenomena make people think that they're not nuts, that these things really, have happened and happened to others. And I think that in itself would be a good reason for somebody to read the book, get the book and read it.
What would be 43 example?
Myself?
Or one of the 43. What would be one of those 43 that you mentioned?
Well, ardors. Several people have told me that they've had this undescribable love, that they woke up in the morning, or one time they loved that this undescribable, like they were bathed in a love fog. That's ardors. Locutions, locutions are rampant because we all have these voices in our heads. I go to the jail and I talk to some of the prisoners the inmates over there, and they tell me about these things that are in their head, So locutions can come from God, they can come from the devil. And that question of discernment is important as to, I've heard all kinds of stories from inmates as to, what made them do what they did and what spurred them on. But, those voices in our head that we all get are something that, needs to be explained. Where do they come from? I just think them up, boom, they pop just in my head at one time. So, I think locutions is a big thing going on around the world today with, God's people.
Yeah, usually I I'm sorry?
No, I didn't say anything else.
Oh, that must have been a locution I heard. I was going to say, I tell people, I talk to myself and I'll answer back. What's inspiring you for the next book, the Stigmata? It's just besides being a topic that you like, is there another angle before just trying to get the education out? Are you trying to be like Joan Carroll Cruz in the sense of getting a series of these books out there?
No, this will probably be my last book because I'm 85 years old, and I don't think I have. I'm just hoping I have enough time left, spared by the Lord, to get this one out, because it's probably going to take me, somewhere between 6 and 9 months to put everything together. Although if I gathered a lot of information on it, but no, the Stigmata has always, enthralled me, and others too. I know there are a couple of books out there, but and I've got them and I've looked through them, and they're just not complete enough. And having spent a year in research on finding each century, who had the Stigmata from the 13th century right on up to the present day, took a lot of effort to go into. And then I've got the biographies of these people, because aside from having the Stigmata, they have one or more of the other 43 mystical phenomena that they've experienced.
Understood. Well, Deacon, I appreciate your time for this. Like I said, I got the book. It was the first book I got when I started at TAN. They handed it to me because the cover itself was just beautiful with me. Like it shines in the light. I mean,
yeah, it's they did an incredible job. I'm thankful for them.
It is one of the better looking ones, and I think it's basically in the center of the new books at the office. But I appreciate your time, Deacon, and thanks for doing the work. And good luck on the forthcoming book too.